Hi, I'm Dr. Laura Wilson, the Curator of Paleontology here at the Sternberg Museum of Natural History, and thanks for joining us for another episode of A New Way to Museum. Over the last couple of episodes that I've hosted, I've been talking about my 5 favorite facts about dinosaurs. So today, my third of 5 favorite facts is going to be about feathers and the evolution of feathers and how new discoveries have led to a new understanding that feathers didn't actually evolve for flight, but maybe evolved for other reasons, and then were used by dinosaurs as they evolved flight within their evolutionary lineage. This is going to piggyback on a lot of what I talked about in my first favorite fact, which is that birds are dinosaurs. And this took us to the friend that we've been looking at for a couple of weeks now of our phylogenetic tree, or our family relationship amongst different types of dinosaurs. And we have everything from our ornithischians, so our bird-hipped dinosaurs that did not evolve into birds. That was week 2, or fact 2, to our theropods, so our meat-eating dinosaurs, until we finally get to birds. And we see this building of different characters that make something bird-like. So what we're going to talk about is birds and birds with feathers, and how our definition of birds has changed as we now understand about the evolution of feathers and dinosaurs that actually aren't birds. And this all comes into the question of what is a bird, or what makes up a bird. I feel like, a couple of decades ago, when I was a graduate student, didn't seem that long ago, but I guess I'm getting up there. It was a lot easier to define what a bird was. We have a bunch of different characteristics that we look at as we move from non-avian dinosaurs down to avian dinosaurs, which is a fancy scientific word for birds. And we look at things like the lengthening of the arm bones as dinosaurs change from using their hands to manipulate prey to actually flight, as what we see in our modern birds. The shortening of the tail and the lengthening of the beak and the loss of teeth changes to other parts of the skeletal structure that are related to the behavior of flight that we associate with birds. So a lot of the characteristics that we look at to define a bird are actually related to flight. And part of this goes back to what we consider the first bird to be in the fossil record. This is a little bit of a debate and is maybe a topic of a different video, but a lot of people will consider the first bird that we have fossil evidence for being Archaeopteryx. And even if this isn't the absolute first fossil of the first bird, then pretty close to what our first birds looked like. And we have some of the characteristics that we looked at on the previous slide. I can show that up for reference with these long arms. We still have a long tail, which is very dinosaur-like, short skull, which is dinosaur-like, but we have this long neck. We have these toes that could possibly be used for perching on branches like we see within birds today. But the most spectacular and most notable feature that we see in avian dinosaurs like Archaeopteryx is the feathers, or at least the feather outline. And so when we were thinking about what a bird was up until maybe the last 10 or 20 years, feathers was always part of that description, that if a dinosaur had feathers, then that dinosaur was probably using those feathers to fly. And that has definitely changed over the last couple of decades, especially as we have these spectacular, exceptional preservations of dinosaurs with feathers from places like China and other what we call Lagerstätten, these mother lodes of exceptionally preserved fossils from around the world. And now we have feathers on dinosaurs. And these dinosaurs were clearly not flying. They don't have the anatomy, they don't have the arms, they don't have the bodies, and they don't necessarily have the types of feathers needed for how we understand flight, and for a little dinosaur to be able to stay up in the air. Another interesting thing is that we also have feathers on bigger dinosaurs that were too big to fly. We have some Tyrannosaurid, not Tyrannosaurus rex, but other similarly or related species of Tyrannosaurid that had types of feathers, especially when they were younger. So when they were juvenile and had smaller bodies and a smaller body mass. And we can actually map this out on our good old friends, these phylogenetic trees, to show the evolutionary relationship and the evolution of feathers within dinosaurs. So what we're looking at here, kind of reading from top to bottom, we have towards the bottom, we have where our birds are. And so I've just highlighted this branching point where we have the evolution from non-avian, so non-bird dinosaurs, to bird dinosaurs or avian dinosaurs, right around where we can see Archaeopteryx is going to be our poster child for the first bird up there. But we can see all of these different types of feathers, everything from these single filaments to actually these stage 4 feathers, which are considered flight feathers. So they're asymmetrical, they have a big strong vein, they're very rigid feathers that can act as an airfoil for that animal as it's in flight through the air. And so we can see these showing up in dinosaurs before we actually get to the evolution of our first birds. And maybe this is, again, a whole nother episode, but there's growing evidence that flight actually evolved more than one time in dinosaurs. So obviously it stuck around with the birds that we have today, but before bird evolution, there are a bunch of other types of flight that may have evolved in other types of non-avian, non-bird dinosaurs. And we can look at this even back further into the dinosaur family tree. So on the lower part of the dinosaur family tree, we have those Saurischian dinosaurs. So those lizard-hipped dinosaurs, the ones that actually, and very confusingly, evolved into birds. And so we can see different types of feathers, including those flight feathers, down feathers, and kind of other versions of them that get preserved with these Saurischian and theropod dinosaurs. We also have things like scale impressions, so probably some combination of scales and feathers in a lot of these dinosaurs. But what this tree has on it that the previous tree didn't is that it has our ornithischian dinosaurs. So these are the bird-hipped dinosaurs that very confusingly did not evolve into birds. That was whole fun fact too, so you can go back and review that. But we have feathers even in the entire other branch of the dinosaur family tree. So clearly we have dinosaurs that were not birds and could not fly that had evolved feathers or feather-like structures, or maybe even some form of proto-feathers. Because of this, because we have feathers found in dinosaurs that were not birds and dinosaurs that could not fly, we no longer think that feathers, the evolution of feathers, is directly associated with the evolution of flight. Some leading hypotheses are things like thermoregulation. So there's growing evidence that dinosaurs were warm-blooded or endothermic, so were capable of producing and maintaining their own body temperatures like mammals and modern birds do. This is very different from your typical quote reptiles where maybe you have to have a heat lamp in a tank and they pull in heat from their environment to warm their bodies. So a lot of these warm-blooded endothermic animals have to have some sort of insulation to help with body temperature regulation. Mammals do it with fur, birds do it with feathers, and maybe it's possible that non-bird dinosaurs did it with feathers too. Other hypotheses are things for like display, and we see this in birds today using brightly colored feathers and big feather plumes. You can think of peacocks and birds of paradise, or anything as common as a backyard cardinal, where they're using bright feathers and feather ornamentation to attract mates. They could maybe also do it to make themselves seem bigger and more fierce, to actually scare off competitors. So there's all of these prey or predator-prey relationships, mate and sexual selection relationships, species recognition, how to know that somebody's of your own species when you're looking for a girlfriend or a boyfriend, things like that. And then it was actually only when flight began to evolve that the feathers were already there and could be used as airfoils. So rather than having feathers directly related or in kind of this cause and effect relationship with flight, they were already there and were just co-opted or exapted and used in the evolution and origination of flight. So all of these new ideas that's really turning our ideas about the evolution of dinosaurs and the evolution of flight and the evolution of dinosaurs with feathers on its head, thanks to these exceptionally preserved specimens that we have coming in from around the world, showing a whole variety of dinosaurs with feather and feather-like structures and animals that couldn't fly. So these are some really cool changes that we've had to our ideas about dinosaurs just over the last couple of decades, which makes up my fun fact 3. Thanks for joining me. If you enjoyed this video, press like and follow for more and similar content. If you have other things that you'd love for me to cover, throw those in the comments and I'll take a look at them. Otherwise, stay tuned for fact number 4 and fact number 5. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for joining us in A New Way to Museum with the Sternberg Museum of Natural History. If you enjoyed this video, like it and subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell for notifications when we release a new video. Support us on Patreon for early access and exclusive content. You can also follow us on all our social media. Links are found in the description. Thanks for watching, and follow your curiosity to new discoveries.